I'm a 35-year-old mom, and I have a 16-year-old daughter. 4 months ago, our world turned upside down when she was diagnosed with alopecia. For those who don't know, alopecia is a condition that causes hair loss, sometimes even all of it. And that's exactly what happened to her. She lost every single hair on her head in just a short time. Before this, she was a regular teenager, full of life, laughter, and confidence. She had friends, went to school, and even had a boyfriend. She was just like any other girl her age. But once the hair started falling out, everything changed. It wasn't just about losing hair, it was about losing a part of herself. Her confidence took a big hit, and her smile started to fade. What hurt the most was when her boyfriend broke up with her. I'll never forget the day she told me. She was holding back tears, trying to be strong, but I could see how much it crushed her inside. She thought he would stay, no matter what. But he left, and that left her feeling even more alone. Then came the bullying at school. Kids can be so cruel. They would stare, whisper, and sometimes even say mean things to her. It was heartbreaking to hear her cry about what happened at school. I saw my once happy daughter becoming withdrawn, scared to go outside, scared to be seen. She didn't want anyone to know about her hair loss, not even her close friends. Her father and I talked a lot about what to do. We decided the best thing would be to switch her to online school so she could be safe. It wasn't an easy decision. We knew she was missing out on social life and regular school experience. But her mental health was more important than anything else. Even at home, she felt uncomfortable. She wouldn't come out without a wig. The wig was like a mask, something to hide behind so no one could see the real her. That hurt me deeply because I wanted her to feel safe and loved just as she was. I told her every day that she was beautiful without her hair, but I could tell it wasn't easy for her to believe it. She sometimes wouldn't even let me see her without the wig. She felt ashamed. It was like a wall went up between us, and I hated that. I wanted to be her safe place, the one person she could trust no matter what. But even I couldn't break through that fear and pain. Her mental health started to decline. She was sad, anxious, and sometimes angry. We made sure to get her help, therapy, doctors, support groups. We tried everything we could think of to support her. It felt like walking on eggshells sometimes, trying not to say the wrong thing or upset her more. One night, my mother came over for dinner. I hoped it would be a calm, normal evening. I wanted my daughter to feel normal, even for just a little while. Maybe if Grandma saw her without the wig and was kind, it would help her feel accepted. For a while, things were okay. My daughter actually came downstairs without her wig. She looked nervous but brave. She sat quietly at the table, her hair bare and soft in the light. I felt a burst of hope. Maybe she was finally starting to accept herself, even if just a little bit. But then my mother spoke. She has always had very strict ideas about how people should look, especially women. She has impossible beauty standards that don't fit with who my daughter is now. I was already worried, knowing my mom could say things that might hurt. And then it happened. My mother looked at my daughter and said, "You have wigs, why don't you wear them? You're making me uncomfortable. What makes you think I or anyone else would want to look at that?" The words hit like a punch to the stomach. My daughter's face crumpled. I saw her eyes fill with tears. She didn't say a word. She just ran upstairs and slammed her bedroom door. Her father went after her to check on her, and I was left standing there, stunned and furious. I could not believe my own mother had said something so cruel. To her granddaughter. To my child who was already hurting so much. I lost control. I yelled. I told my mom exactly what I thought. How dare she say something so horrible to my daughter? Did she have any idea what our girl had been through? That she was already bullied enough, and here she was, adding more pain? I told her to get out of my house. My mother tried to say it was just constructive criticism, but I wasn't having it. That wasn't criticism, it was bullying. It was cruel, unkind, and damaging. She left, and the house felt cold and empty. Later, my brother texted me. He said I took it too far. That I should be ashamed of how I spoke to my mother. That maybe I was overreacting. But I wasn't. I stood up for my daughter. I protected her. I spoke out against cruelty. And yet, here I am, confused and unsure what to do next. Was I too harsh? Was there another way? Or was I right to defend her no matter what? I don't have answers. Not yet. After my mother left, The house felt heavy and quiet in a way I never wanted it to. I stood there, heart pounding, angry and sad all at once. My daughter was upstairs, probably crying alone, and I hated that I couldn't just fix everything for her. Her father stayed with her for a long time, trying to calm her down, but I didn't want to disturb them. So, I went to the kitchen and sat down, trying to breathe. My hands shook, and I kept replaying what had happened over and over in my mind. How could my own mother say something so cruel? Did she really not understand what my daughter was going through? Did she not see how fragile she was? It felt like a betrayal, from someone who should be family, someone who should love and support us. I checked my phone and saw a message from my brother. He said I had gone too far, that I should be ashamed of yelling at Mom like that. That hurt too. I thought about replying, but I didn't know what to say. Was I wrong? Was I overreacting? But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I was protecting my daughter, the person I loved most in the world. Sometimes love means standing up to those closest to us, even if it hurts. Later that night, I went upstairs to check on my daughter. Her room was dark, and she didn't want to talk. She was still upset and shaken from the whole evening. I sat beside her, reached for her hand, and told her how proud I was of her for being brave enough to come downstairs without the wig. She whispered, "I just wanted Grandma to accept me." But she didn't. She made me feel ugly. I felt tears well up in my eyes. I wanted to hold her and tell her she was the most beautiful girl in the world, but I also wanted to shield her from the pain. We stayed up talking for hours, just me and her. I listened as she told me about the bullying, the heartbreak from her boyfriend, and how lonely she felt. It was one of the hardest nights of my life. I promised her that no matter what anyone said, she would always be loved and accepted by us. Her father and I would fight for her every day. The next morning, I woke up feeling drained but determined. This situation wasn't going to break us. I called my mom, hoping to talk and explain why her words had hurt us so deeply, but she wasn't ready to listen. She said she only wanted what was best for my daughter and that she thought she was helping by being honest. I tried to tell her that honesty isn't the same as cruelty, especially when someone is struggling so much. I asked her to try to understand my daughter's pain and be more kind. But the conversation didn't go anywhere. She got defensive and said I was too sensitive. It was clear she didn't see the damage she caused. That hurt almost as much as the original insult. I realized then that some people don't change overnight, and maybe my mom wasn't going to be the support we needed right now. Instead, I focused on my daughter. I made sure she had extra therapy sessions and stayed close to her. We worked on building her confidence little by little. I also started to reach out to online support groups for parents with children who have alopecia. Hearing stories from others helped me feel less alone and gave me ideas on how to support my daughter better. But even with all this, the pain from my mother's words stayed with me. It's hard to heal from a family member's rejection. Meanwhile, my brother kept texting me, telling me I should apologize to Mom and keep the peace. I understood where he was coming from. Families are complicated, and sometimes you have to pick your battles. But this wasn't something I could just brush under the rug. I wanted to protect my daughter's heart, and that meant setting clear boundaries. Over the next few weeks, my mother didn't reach out to us. The silence was painful but maybe necessary. One afternoon, my daughter surprised me. She came downstairs again without her wig. This time, she smiled a little, a real smile, not the nervous one from before. She said she wanted to feel free in her own skin, even if others didn't understand. That moment gave me hope. I told her she was incredibly brave and beautiful, no matter what anyone else thought. And I promised to always be by her side, fighting for her. But I still worry. I worry about the future, about how many more times she will face judgment or cruelty, even from those who should love her most. I don't have all the answers. I don't know how to fix everything. But I know this. Family should be the place where you feel safest, not the place where you are hurt the most. So, I'm sharing this story because maybe someone else out there is going through something similar. Maybe someone else has a daughter, a son, a family member who is struggling and needs to feel accepted. If you're that person, I want you to know you're not alone. And to anyone who thinks they're helping by being honest, please think about how your words might hurt. Sometimes love means kindness more than truth. Right now, I'm still figuring out what to do next. But one thing is clear, my daughter deserves love, respect, and a family who stands with her. And I will fight every day to make sure she gets that. After those first few difficult weeks, Things started to shift a little, not perfectly, but slowly, in a way that gave me hope. My daughter began to show more strength. She still had hard days when she wanted to hide away, but there were moments when I could see her fighting back against the pain. One morning, she came downstairs without her wig again, and this time she even laughed at something silly on TV. It was such a small thing, but to me, it felt like a huge victory. She was learning to accept herself, at least bit by bit. We continued therapy, and her therapist helped her talk about the bullying and the heartbreak she'd been through. She learned ways to deal with her feelings without letting them take over. It was a long road, and there were setbacks, but she kept trying. Her father and I did everything we could to support her. We told her every day how beautiful she was, inside and out. We reminded her that hair didn't define her worth. We watched shows and read stories about people with alopecia who had learned to love themselves. But while we were making progress at home, the family drama wasn't over. My mother hadn't reached out again, but the tension between us was still there like an invisible wall. Every time my phone buzzed, I wondered if it was her or my brother sending a message to stir things up. I wanted peace, but I also wanted my daughter to feel safe and respected. One afternoon, my mother surprised me by showing up at the house unannounced. I wasn't sure if I was ready to see her, but I didn't want to ignore her either. I let her in. She apologized, kind of. She said she didn't mean to hurt my daughter, but then quickly added that she still thought my daughter should wear wigs to look presentable. I told her firmly that my daughter's comfort and happiness were what mattered, not outdated ideas about beauty. She seemed to get defensive and left soon after. It was painful to realize how stuck my mother was in her ways. I didn't want to push my daughter into spending time with her grandma right now. It felt safer for her to keep distance until my mom could understand and respect her. Meanwhile, my daughter's school situation was changing again. We'd started online classes to keep her safe, but she missed real interactions. After weeks of careful thought and talking with her therapist, she decided to try going back to school, at least part-time. That was a huge step for her, and I was nervous. Would the bullying start again? Would she be strong enough to handle it? The first day back was hard. Some kids whispered and stared, and she felt their eyes on her every minute. But she also had a few friends who stood by her side, and that made a difference. I remember waiting to hear how her day went. When she called me that evening, her voice was shaky but hopeful. They weren't all bad, she said. Some people were mean, but some were nice. And I survived. I told her how proud I was. We talked about strategies for dealing with bullies and focusing on the good people in her life. Over the next few weeks, she slowly built more confidence at school. It wasn't perfect, and I knew there would be hard days ahead. But she was learning to stand up for herself, and that made me proud beyond words. However, the family situation still weighed on me. My brother kept texting, pushing me to make peace and forgive my mom. He said family should always stick together no matter what. I understood that, but I also knew that forgiveness didn't mean accepting hurtful behavior. I explained to him that my daughter's feelings came first. If my mother couldn't be kind and supportive, then she wasn't welcome around her. He didn't like hearing that. Our conversations became tense. I wanted to keep family bonds, but I couldn't do it at the cost of my daughter's emotional safety. One day, I sat down with my daughter and told her about the tension with grandma and uncle. She said she wasn't ready to forgive yet either. It hurts too much, she said softly. I told her it was okay to feel that way. Healing takes time, and no one should rush it. Instead, we focused on building our own little family bubble, a place of love, understanding, and acceptance. We celebrated every small victory, like a day without tears or a compliment from a friend. We shared laughs and quiet moments. We made plans for the future, imagining a time when hair loss wouldn't define her. Through all this, I learned something important. Strength doesn't mean never feeling pain. It means facing that pain and choosing to keep going anyway. My daughter showed me that every day. She taught me that beauty isn't about how you look on the outside, but the courage you carry inside. And while I wish family could be easier, I also know sometimes love means setting boundaries and protecting those you care about the most. So, I keep fighting, for my daughter, for her happiness, and for a family that learns to accept her just as she is. Because she deserves nothing less. My mother hadn't contacted us since that last visit. I wasn't sure if she was giving us space or just avoiding the problem. Honestly, I didn't know if she ever would change her views or accept my daughter for who she was. That uncertainty hurt me. It hurt my daughter even more. One evening, I sat down with her after dinner, and she said something that stayed with me. "Mom, sometimes I wish Grandma would just see me. Not the hair, not the sickness, but me." Her voice was soft, filled with sadness. I could see the hope she held on to, hope that one day, her grandmother would accept her fully. I told her, "I know, baby. I wish that too. But sometimes people don't understand how much their words hurt until it's too late." She nodded but didn't say much more. I could tell she was learning to protect herself, to not expect too much from those who hurt her. That night, I wrote down a promise to myself and to her. We would keep building a life filled with love and respect, even if it meant leaving some people behind. Around this time, my brother reached out again. He sent a long message, trying to convince me to fix things with Mom before it was too late. He said family was important and that we should forgive and forget. I took a deep breath and wrote back honestly. "I love my daughter more than anything. I won't let anyone make her feel less than she is. If that means standing firm with boundaries, then that's what I'll do." He didn't reply for a while. When he finally did, it was a short message saying he hoped we could find peace. That was all I could hope for, that maybe someday, things would heal. In the meantime, my daughter and I focused on our healing journey. We found new ways to build her confidence. She joined an art club, where she could express herself without worrying about how she looked. She made friends who accepted her completely. No wigs, no judgment. Her therapist introduced us to mindfulness and self-compassion exercises. We practiced together every day. It wasn't easy, but little by little, I saw my daughter start to love herself a little more. At home, we created a safe space. A place where she could be herself, wig or no wig. We talked openly about her fears, her dreams, and her struggles. One day, she told me, "I don't want to hide anymore. Not just from others, but from myself." That was a turning point. Her bravery inspired me. I started to think about how I could support her better, how I could help others going through the same thing. I began sharing our story with close friends and in support groups online. The response was overwhelming. So many parents and teens reached out, thanking me for speaking up. It made me realize we weren't alone, and that sometimes, the hardest stories can bring people together. But despite all the progress, family gatherings were still tense. When my mother did come around, usually for holidays or birthdays, the atmosphere was fragile. My daughter kept her wig on most of the time, not ready to risk another hurtful comment. I hated that she felt she had to hide. But I also understood her caution. One Christmas, my mother made a half-hearted apology. She said she was trying to be more understanding but still struggled to accept things she didn't like. My daughter listened quietly but didn't respond. She wasn't ready to forgive, and I didn't push her. That night, I held my daughter close and told her, "You don't have to forgive anyone until you're ready. What matters is that you know your worth." She smiled, a little sad but strong. Over time, I realized that family isn't always about perfect relationships or easy love. Sometimes, family means standing up for each other, even if it means facing tough choices. I'm proud of my daughter, of her courage, her kindness, and her heart. And I'm proud of myself, for fighting to protect her from pain, even when it meant confronting the people I love. Our story isn't over. We still have challenges ahead. But we have each other, and that makes all the difference. For anyone watching who might be struggling with family, or with accepting someone they love, remember this. Love isn't always easy, and sometimes it means setting boundaries. But it's always worth fighting for. Because everyone deserves to be loved, exactly as they are. Thank you so much for watching and listening to our story. What do you guys think? Did I handle the situation well or did I overreact? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories like this. Remember, everyone deserves love and kindness, no matter what. Take care, and see you next time.